Hello and welcome to episode 50 of the West Aurora 129 podcast. I'm Dr. Michael Smith, Superintendent of Schools. Today we are joined by two proud West Aurora graduates who continue to make a difference for today's students, Ingrid Roney and Scott Voris. Ingrid serves as the Executive Director and Scott the President of the A+ Foundation for West Aurora Schools. Their work with the foundation helps sustain and expand educational opportunities across our district. In this episode, we'll explore a mix of personal history, hear how the foundation is opening doors for students, and learn how you can be a part of that impact. Ingrid, Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Oh, our pleasure. Believe me, our pleasure. Now, to kick us off, I will say the two of you have a connection and a background unmatched by many others in that you have spent just a little bit of time around one another. Can you talk about what that connection dates back to?
I think Scott might get mad if I say exactly how many years right now. I could say it.
Yeah.
50 years.
There you go. Wow.
Kindergarten class together.
Kindergarten.
Yeah.
It's all the way back to kindergarten.
50 years ago.
And you're still talking to each other.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That is impressive right there. I will say that means that you were part of the same graduating class. You went to elementary school. But does that also mean that your own children have a connection then too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what generation are we on now?
Yeah. Okay.
The daughters are fourth. We're third, I believe.
We're third.
Doing our homework. So
Oh my goodness.
grandmother graduated from West Aurora. My dad, aunt, and uncle graduated from West Aurora. My brothers and myself did.
Okay.
And now 4 daughters went through WA.
Awesome.
So mine's almost the same, except it's the opposite genders. So my grandma was graduated from West Aurora, and then my dad and my mom. And then me, but then my 3 boys did. But I had all sisters as well. So his brothers all graduated from West Aurora. All my sisters graduated from West Aurora.
So in the true sense of the word, you all bleed red and blue.
Yeah.
All right. I love it. I love it. I know we're here to talk about the A+ Foundation. But before we get into talking about the foundation, I love the fact that everyone has a story. And not to mention the fact that both of you being third generation Blackhawks, that's enough of a story to tell, but you also have connections in terms of your service before the A+ Foundation in terms of things that you did. Ingrid, let's start with you. What was your connection to District 129 after graduation?
So after graduation, I actually got a degree in public relations.
Okay.
And so my first 2 years out of college, I was working at Mercy Center Hospital, and I was doing PR for someone who was very dear to me, Nancy Hopp, and she was like my very first mentor. And she could tell that wasn't going to be what I was longing to do, or that I was maybe, that set on myself even doing that.
Sure.
So anyway, I went back and got a master's. One of the very first classes that Aurora University actually did the master's in teaching.
Okay.
So it was like a really short program.
Okay.
And so that took me up to my very first job in West Aurora, which was I was an aide in a self-contained BD classroom.
Okay.
At Goodwin. And Goodwin's a very special place. And that I still to this day believe that Sandy Bauer felt so bad for me that year. And then when the kindergarten position came up the next year, I was in.
Nice.
And I half my history, I just love that part of my story because there's that little bit of PR that comes back full circle to me now. But that whole teaching part of my life was just the best. I loved that community. I loved teaching kindergarten. I think 5-year-olds, I think that is the most special place to be.
Sure.
And then after my third son, I decided that I was going to probably stay home with a 5 and a 3 and a newborn.
But that was after 15 years. So
that was
definitely plenty of time given to the classroom. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Now, conversely, even though still connected, it's almost the other end of the spectrum here with you, Scott. Can you talk about what your connection was or is in terms of your service to the district before A+?
I mean, the highlight of that would have been school board member, 2002 to 2006.
Okay.
So I was new back to town. I moved back in 2000. And I wanted to get involved with West Aurora schools, and that was something that I did. And that was That was a busy time. Sherry Eagle was superintendent.
Okay.
You were a new hire at the time.
Sorry, at the time, are you just saying I'm old there? Well played.
Well, way to go. That was a busy time for West Aurora schools because we redistrict and added Herget. And so when you do that, I guess I didn't realize that as a community member. But when you sit there in the school board seats, that means you redistrict people, and it was very volatile would be strong.
We call those opportunities.
Yeah, that was a tricky time. So
sure.
I did enjoy and actually Sherry retired, and we hired Dr. Rydland during that time. So I went through that process with the school board. So I learned a lot and gave back a lot. And then at that 100%. Time, I was starting a business and had 4 girls. So I did not have a lot of time. So I was
you could have stopped it. I had 4 girls. That would have been enough to explain your decision to step away from the board.
Right.
You were a little busy, right?
I was a little busy.
All right. That works. So definitely, like I said, aside from being graduates and students of West Aurora, you've both modeled, even if it is teaching, being on the quote unquote payroll, you both articulated service and wanting to give back to West Aurora. And that's a model that you carry into your roles and your positions with the A+ Foundation. And let's get into it. Let's talk about that A+ Foundation. From what I have in my notes, it was founded in 1992, but I'm going to stop there. I want you guys to be able to tell the story. What is the history and tell us a little bit more about the A+ Foundation.
Yeah, I like this story. So this is very kind of a history lesson to all of us. When the riverboats came to town, there was a promise that they would give back to the 4 school districts that were in Aurora. So it was $1 million. So each school district at that time was East and West, and then 204, and then a little bit of Oswego, right? Am I right?
Batavia, a little bit Oswego.
It was like, those 4.
Right,
each got $250,000 to start a foundation. So it was, that money was
set aside
for foundational work. So it was kind of given to, somebody to say, who's going to do this? And here's this chunk of money. So a group of volunteers, really just where, like, I say we stand on the shoulder of giants a little bit here because, we had the Neil Ormond and the Randy Oxenschlager and the Frank Voris and the Ralph Voris. I mean, those were who kind of came together and gathered this group of people that volunteered. And it was called the Alumni Association at the time. And then it just kind of morphed into, and it was really just that money set aside. And it was just kind of sat for a while, and they kind of figured out how to give back a little bit. And then it just kind of morphed into a little bit more time, and people could kind of think about how to structure this. And so, 30 years later, we're, have a board of 15.
And how long have you been the executive director?
So I started volunteering right after my son was born, which is funny because I didn't sit long. Like, I knew I kind of wanted to still stay in the schools and, be kind of active, and because all my boys were then at Freeman School. So I started volunteering on the A+ board in 2007. And so that took me a few years in as a volunteer. And then we decided we needed to take a bigger step and try to figure out how to get somebody who could spend their time, really focusing on building this foundation. And so that was in 12 years. This is my 12th year.
Awesome. Yeah. That is tremendous.
Yeah.
That is tremendous.
And I love it.
Sure. And Scott, was there something you were going to add?
I think the foundation, there's so many things about the foundation that make me proud, but just taking a step back, the foundation is serving West Aurora schools. And it's just, that's a big deal. I mean, for all of us in the community, because the school district in this town is different than the school district in many towns, whereas it's a kind of a central source of pride, but it's also, the center of the community in terms of how we do is whether we're growing or whether we're not growing. And for me, West Aurora schools were more exciting for my kids than they were for me. And I loved it. So it was like the fact that it's getting better.
There you go.
Yeah. And it's it's not in the good old days, right? Yeah. We have that, but the current is better in so many ways.
That's pretty cool. And you have a front row seat to be able to share that reality. That's right. Cool. Nice. Now, not to get too technical, but I want to make sure our listeners understand, because we might be talking to those in the community, and we're going to talk a little money here. Mm-hmm. Those in the community are like, well, okay, how does the A+ Foundation work? And I want to make sure we answer that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone wants to just write a check. Great. Mm-hmm. That we'll take that. But there are really two functions, because there's endowments that can be identified, and then legacy giving. Scott, can you talk about the difference between those two a little bit?
So I think of it in the two ways that people give. One is that we have folks that give this year, and they want to give to programs that are happening this year.
Okay.
Current staff members give $1.29 per paycheck. Community members come to our events and make donations. We do an annual fundraising drive. We're actually right in the middle of it right now, where we go out to the businesses and alumni and community leaders and quite frankly, solicit them for support of the foundation. And they give this year, and we spend that money this year. So it's going right into the current programs. And then the legacy or endowment side of this is that we have close to 20 people that they're kind of legends of West Aurora. Could be retired teachers, retired superintendents, alumni, families of teachers that have retired. And they've made the commitment to the district in a form of an endowment. Mm. And so when they do, so the A+ Foundation is connected to the Community Foundation here in town. And so these endowments go into the Community Foundation, but are all focused at West Aurora schools. And those gifts, some of them start with modest amounts, and some of them start with, very large amounts. But when those gifts get used, the principal gets kind of held and invested, and then the interest and earnings that those things kick off each year come back and get spent. So they're like, they'll contribute to programs this year, and they'll contribute to programs 50 years from now.
So Scott, thank you for talking about the different ways that people can give. And I like that you framed it as, sometimes people are focused on, I want something to impact what's happening this year, and others, it's a legacy. I don't know, but I know I want to be a part of giving and supporting West, and it's more of a long term. And that speaks to the fiscal responsibility that the A+ Foundation has for the funds that you all receive. I know sitting at the table, you're very responsive and responsible to having the greatest impact with the money that you're blessed to receive from others in the community, alumni or whoever, as you just said. Now that's as the money comes in. Right. Now, as we talk about how the money flows out, can you guys talk a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah. So I think it's important and Scott mentioned too that, so all of the funds that we have in all of our endowments and our funds are at the Community Foundation for the Fox River Valley. And we are super grateful for that, because they do all the hard work. So that when that money comes to A+, we bring it right to them, and they take care of it. And they're the ones that have, all the audits and all of that, which is great, because it's just a great partnership to have. And kind of, we don't have the manpower to do that anyway. So all that great money, I always say that's the best part of my job, is to spend the money. The hardest part is to raise the money. But we have programs like the Fund to Need program. And the Fund to Need program is, we have 2 cycles, and it's basically a teacher grant program. So we have a cycle in the fall and a cycle in the springtime, where teachers, administrators, staff members, really, anybody with an SD 129 email can ask for funds for maybe things that typically couldn't be covered through the district, like the extras, or things that they have an idea for in their classroom, or they have material needs. Or even, I think in the last few years, a lot of groups, even in the elementary school, like there's new groups, a running group and, a science group and stuff like that. So this gives them the ability to be able to fund some of their things that they don't have to pay out of pocket for. Because I think too, I know that kind of stuff because I was there and I think like a teacher. And I really appreciate this program, because maybe you don't have $200 to spend on, something, but that's what we're kind of here for.
And I think if I'm hearing you, it's not to supplant what the district is funding, because we have a responsibility to make sure we're caring for and providing curriculum, things like that of that nature. But you can come alongside and support things that are in addition to, because we know as students find connection, as you all did, and you talked about your kids, as they find connections through opportunities to the school, that's what helps school become sticky, for lack of a better way to say it, and brings interest and connection connection.
Yep.
So I like that you highlighted that.
Yeah. So I think our funded need is actually we've done a really good job purposefully trying to get the word out there for teachers, because we do have these endowments, and these endowments that we every half year we can spend this interest on them. And some are very specific. Some endowments are, there's one that, help me out, Scott. It's the social studies. Right?
We have
it's a great
a retired social studies teacher made a commitment to social studies programs.
But middle school, I think, social studies. So it's really important. We want to spend that money. We don't want it sitting there. We want it out doing things. And so that's been a lot of our publicity in the last 5 years, is like, teachers, please look at what you need. What could you do? Think of an idea or something like that. So that's where a lot of our funds do go.
And we have funds around athletics, around arts,
music.
Around music,
business,
reading, reading. I mean, science. So it's like there's a wide scope of where people have committed to the district. So that's been,
which is
exciting.
Really great. And then some kind of open-ended ones where people have come to us and just said, I would just love this to go wherever you think there's a need, or where people are asking. So that's one kind of bigger piece of the pie, I think our money goes to.
That's great.
Another one is the AP program that we started a few years ago, and that was giving a senior one free AP test. So a lot of times, seniors, they have 3 or 4.
Right.
It's just kind of, or maybe they don't even know they could take one. And, their teacher kind of says to them, you could do it. And then they say, well, I don't know if I can do it. And then,
and to your point, what you're honestly saying is you're removing the barrier of cost.
Yeah.
Because it costs to take that test. Yeah. So what a tremendous gift to our seniors to say, you have the potential and opportunity, and we want to take away one more barrier via the A+ Foundation to you showing the world what you're capable of. Yep. So that partnership has truly been beneficial. And again, to your point, maybe it does start the ball rolling, because now they know that they have the support to step into that space, take the test, and it opens the door to maybe I can take another. Right. So it builds that momentum, because on the back end, success on the AP test translates into dollars saved at the next level, which we all know is something that everyone is interested in terms of accommodating or accounting for college costs. So that is a tremendous benefit that the A+ Foundation provides. Scott, if I could toss this one over to you. We talked about the different community organizations, businesses, current staff, but I would be remiss if I didn't say part of what we do is trying to connect with alumni. And we're fairly intentional about how we try to do that, how you all try to do that. Can you talk about a little bit what steps you're taking to connect or find those that have come through the hallways of West Aurora? Yeah,
there's actually a lot of things I'll try to cover kind of quickly, but we have, I think, close to 40,000 living alumni, which is a huge number.
Sure.
And so many of them are in our local area, but a greater number of them have gone on to conquer the world and moved on to different areas. So we have a very intentional effort about trying to identify and find our alumni. Mm-hmm. That's been it's a labor of love. And we have Tom Herget on our board has really taken that up to do that, which we really appreciate. So we've identified 4,000 alumni, which we know that we're just like scratching the surface there. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, we are working harder and smarter to communicate with those alumni. So we've taken those 4,000 names that we have and that we want to build, and we're coming up and telling our stories each month and trying to communicate all the good things that are happening in West Aurora. And there's plenty of them. So there's not a shortage of topics we can talk about, but mm-hmm. communicating that out in a thoughtful way to our alumni to engage. And then, of course, we want them to, if they're local or relatively local, we want them to attend our events, which we do throughout the year. And we're more actively soliciting them now for support. And so part of the message is quite simple. People want to support winners. West Aurora is a winner. Mm-hmm. And it's like that's a big part about it. And I think when they hear from alumni about all the good things that are going and can they support it, life's busy and life's expensive. And then all of a sudden our alumni get to the point where they wake up and they've got a few gray hairs and, they've got comfortable where they can also send a check back to West Aurora schools. And that's been a big part about what's happened. It's just amazing the level of support that we get that allows us to do that stuff. And then the stories that we hear. So that's a big part. And I'd say the last thing, which is an area where I would call it more of a work in progress, but something we're passionate about, is just continuing to identify, kind of the best of the best of our, and it seems like it should be like when you first hear about our Hall of Honor, and we have such a wonderful Hall of Honor in terms of the people that we've identified, but it's like what I just assumed that this would be easy to find. And it's not hard because our alumni are out there doing great things, but most of them are not self-promoting where they said, hey, can I be in the, it's like, so we have to go find them. So like the big push is if you have a classmate or a relative or a friend that's really gone on to really be something that West Aurora is proud of, think about nominating that classmate or that friend for the Hall of Honor, because we'd love to have all those stories.
So Scott, speaking of the Hall of Honor, I agree. It's hard. People don't want to be seen as conceited or self-promote. But quite honestly, if someone is listening to this, or someone, what I know is a valuable piece to that process is the day before Hall of Honor, when they come back and they meet our current students.
Right.
That is the power.
It's a great day. It's a great weekend.
What that whole process is about, because they are living, tangible examples of practitioners and people who have found success. That's the dream for some of those students. And I know as a result of seeing some of our past Hall of Honor inductees, interest has been sparked by some of our students about a field that they didn't know about, or that they can then be confirmed or be excited about because they see someone who's done it well. So I do love that that's a piece, and that's the story. Come back and let our students see you, because that's what our kids need.
That's right.
Those tangible examples. So thank you for sharing that. Ingrid, I'm going to throw this one back to you. We're going to keep moving here. There are some fairly annual things that are heavy hitters connected to the A+ Foundation. Can you just kind of go through a few of those to make sure if people didn't know, they can now mark their calendars or at least the time of year as to when these things happen?
Yep. This is kind of my wheelhouse, the special events, the kind of thinking outside the box. It's hard when you have to raise so much money in a year. It's hard to go out to get that money every time. So sometimes events fill the gaps, and a few of these events have really filled the gaps, and I'm really proud of them. I think our biggest one, and I probably should lead with that one. Our biggest one, I think, is the Tomahawk East-West Turkey Trot, which we hold. This was our 5th one coming up on November 22nd. That one started out, I need to give credit to my friend Bill, who is me, but at the Aurora East Education Foundation.
There you go. It's a mouthful.
And he had this idea to...
Also class of 88.
88, East Aurora, yep. He had this idea, and we had met through these foundation meetings that we were attending on a monthly basis, and we met each other, and we were kind of thinking we should do something East and West. I think that would be really fun, and then COVID happened, and then we were just kind of nothing. And then he had talked about a 5K. Anyway, I actually heard him talking about it to another person, and I said, wait. I think that should be our thing. I kind of want to get in on that, because if you're talking November, there's like this historical game of a football game that was played on Heard's Island every Thanksgiving, and that I thought that would be a perfect opportunity for the East-West to kind of come back together around Thanksgiving. So anyway, we set it, and we put the most efficient, effective people on this committee, and this thing has taken off. And in 5 years, awesome. I think we've raised more than close to $200,000 for both sides of the river at this point.
That's tremendous.
It's amazing. And it's a great community event, and everybody likes to be part of it. And it's kind of fun too, because we still kind of do the old kind of, East-West rivalry with our staffs. And so we try to see how many people are going to sign up from East Aurora, how many are going to sign up for West Aurora. And there's a traveling trophy. I've had it for 2 years. They had it for the first 2 years. It's great.
And can I say, for those aspiring pop stars, there's a little something else that we do at the Two Brothers?
Yes, that's a great one too, the Banding Together event. That came about oh my gosh, I think we're on 15 years of that one. When Meg Papadolius retired, and she was just a rock star of a performing arts choir, teacher that was at Washington. She was at West, and her career was she touched so many lives. Anyway, she retired, and a group of people on the A+ board at the time, they wanted an endowment for her so that her name would kind of just live on forever. And so we had to raise the money for that endowment, and we've done it honestly, we've raised, a really good amount of money for performing arts in all of West Aurora. So that's been really great.
That's awesome.
The A+ certificates is always something kind of fun. And that was an idea of my 50-year-old friend over here that had that idea maybe 10 years ago. I feel like that's been a successful program.
It's grassroots, and it's appreciation, which appreciation is always needed, and always, it just makes everyone feel valued. And
with everything that we do, we should never lose the opportunity to stop and say thank you.
Yeah.
And that's what those A+ certificates are all about.
Yeah.
Right.
Not just for teachers, it's for any staff member. Because I've seen them, building engineers, all those that we see every day reporting to West Aurora, doing their job, putting their nose down and really getting after it. This is a great way via the foundation to say thank you. So
yes.
that's tremendous. Now, as we look to wrap up our time, I don't want to miss the chance for our listeners after they've heard everything about the A+, and they're like, I want to get involved. I want to be a part of this. Where do they go? Who do they talk to? What direction would you give? Scott, if you want to start us off.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to get involved with A+, reaching out to Ingrid is the way to go. I mean, we have board positions. We're always looking for people that are willing to roll up their sleeves and help move, West Aurora's foundation forward. We have plenty of committees around these events and our activities where people can get involved or just if they don't want to be part of that at that level, they can come out and attend an event and see a lot of old friends and have a lot of fun.
Yep.
And I know you said nominate someone for the Hall of Fame or Hall of Honor if they know someone.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for picking up on that for me, Dr. Smith. I appreciate that. But that's an area where we definitely are looking for help, trying to identify our alumni that are doing great things or have done great things, and that we can recognize them and cheer together. And as we talked about earlier, bring them back to the high school so our current students can see them.
Awesome. And Ingrid, there's an email that people can use?
They can always email me because I am Ingrid Roney at SD129. It's my full name. So, but also our website, aplusfoundation.sd129.org. We also have a Facebook. We have an Instagram. We have a West Aurora alumni LinkedIn page.
Okay.
I know that I go to the staff every year with 3 things that they can do to be involved and be part of A+. And I'll say them again, just signing up to run that turkey trot or walk that turkey trot, that money, we have sponsors already. So the money that you are giving to walk that race or run that race is going right into these schools, which I think that's important to know. And also if you're a staff member, the $1.29 program, which is just $1.29 taken out of your check every other.
And a huge hats off. I mean, you for bringing the idea, Ingrid, but also for our staff and our team.
I was going to say,
it's amazing how many people.
This staff and community is unbelievable.
How many teachers and staff?
So we have a little over 600 are part of this program, and it's amazing.
That is absolutely
and actually,
amazing.
I have to give credit where credit's due. I was at a meeting with District 214 shared this idea, and as we were all sitting there, we're all looking and we all kind of get our phones out at the same time, like kind of putting in our own district, well, what's $1.29 times,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think there's a lot of foundations that can get an employee giving right. And I think we got it right.
That's awesome.
This staff is really great.
And as I think you shared earlier, Scott, those that find themselves in a position where, they do have a little something extra. We're definitely can come alongside them if they're, how do I do this? Give us a call, give your team a call, and we will help someone with any estate planning, things like that. Yes, we want to give, but the reality is relies on the gifts of those in the community and businesses that you've been able to partner with. So again, thank you to the two of you, Ingrid, Scott. It's always inspiring to talk to people who not only graduated from West Aurora, but continue to invest their time and energy back into this community. And quite honestly, you didn't pay me to say this, but you truly are examples to others. Amongst the team of the A+ Foundation, I would say that goes for all of them. Mm-hmm. Through your leadership with the A+ Foundation, you're helping to make sure our students have every opportunity to learn, grow, and succeed. Thank you both for being here today.
Thanks, Dr.
Thank
Smith.
you.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to episode 50 of the West Aurora 129 podcast. And don't forget, you can follow and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.